live event. We are in incredibly unsettling times at the moment, and we hope that you and your families are safe and well. We thought it would be helpful at this time for us to run a Facebook Live to answer any questions that you might have about the jobs market in the current climate, which has turned our normal completely upside down. So before we get started, I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to Restless and what we do. Restless is a job site for the over 50s. We've been around for about 1.5 years now, and we are really proud to say that we're now the biggest job site tailored just for the over 50s. We have more than 28,000 jobs on our website nationwide, as well as loads and loads of content for the over 50s with advice, tips, support, and inspiration, all to do with finding a new job. So please check us out on www.restless.co.uk. As well as our website, we have a Facebook page, which you might be watching this video on now. We also have 2 Facebook groups. One is called Over 50s Job Seekers, and it's a lively group of people who support each other through the ups and downs of finding a job aged 50 and above. And we also have Later Life Learning, which is a group for people interested in retraining or upskilling in some shape or form. We can post all the links to those different groups and pages at the end of the video. So my name is Aisling Gray. I manage the Facebook groups for Restless, and I also work a lot with journalists to raise awareness of the issues faced by the over 50s in the workplace. It's not just me today. I'm joined by my brand new colleague, Helen, who has many strings to her bow, amongst which are life coaching, and she is also our resident recruitment expert. So let me just get her on screen. Let's see. Here she is. Hi, Helen.
Hi, Ash.
Welcome.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone.
Before we get started, if you are listening to this video live, please say hi in the chat box so that we know that you're here. Tell us who you are, tell us where you live, and please ask us a question and we will try to answer it today. We've got 20 minutes today, so if we don't get round to answering all of the questions, we'll answer them on the text afterwards. So you please come back and visit. And finally, if you know someone who would like to watch this video as well, please tag them in the comments and they'll be able to catch up with it afterwards. So without further ado, on to our questions.
Right.
Helen, hi.
Hi.
The first question for you is from one of our members who has asked about the safety of job hunting right now. They want to know if there's any point in looking for a new role, because even if they were to get an interview, is it safe to meet? Obviously, for the next 3 weeks, we're all in total lockdown, which means nothing's going to happen until mid to end of April at the earliest. But what are your thoughts on meeting after that?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, make sure you're staying up to date with the government directives, because they're helping us navigate all of this as to what's safe for all of us. So I think that's the big thing. I think the other thing to remember is we're all working this out as we go along as well, and so there aren't any actual definite answers, and every single situation will be different. It will depend on the type of job you're going for. It will depend on how quickly they want you to start, the nature of the work. So more than ever, I would say this whenever you're job hunting, is get as much information from the hiring manager or the company or the recruiter that you're going through. Get as much information as you can so you're really comfortable about your own safety and their safety. You might find it goes on to video, or they will come up. I've seen some interesting chat about outdoor interviews where you can still be socially distant. So I think we're going to see all sorts of really creative ways of keeping each other safe and keeping the economy moving and jobs happening. So
yeah. Okay, perfect. We've actually had our first question in from someone who's watching. Maura Ward has asked, apart from supermarkets and care agencies, is anybody actually looking for staff at the moment? Really good question, very relevant.
Yeah, very relevant. And my sense is that there will be other companies looking. They might not be quite as visible as the care side and supermarkets, and certainly they're experiencing that real crush for people. And I also think, bear in mind, we're still very early days. We're only in our first week of this official new directive, and change often creates a little bit of stagnation until we get comfortable. Just as human beings, it's really natural. We just sort of hold a little bit. So I'd say don't stop looking. I think we'll start to see, as people get more comfortable with how long the stay-at-home directive is, how long we're likely to be doing this, as some of the government initiatives around the financing to support companies starts to roll out. I think we'll start to see stuff moving again. It'll just be a little bit different. So I would say never give up. But don't send yourself mad. Just be aware that, it's kind of moment by moment at the moment.
Thanks. So moving on to the next one, we had a member contact us. They'd had their first round interview. They'd successfully been moved through to the second round. They were due to have their second round interview this week, but it's been cancelled because of lockdown. They haven't heard any more from the employer about timings, next steps, and they've been left a bit in limbo, which I think must be quite a common thing in the current climate. What should they do? Would you recommend that they chase the employer? Should they just assume that they've missed the opportunity? Or should they just wait and wait to be contacted once we're out of this crisis?
Yeah, I think once again we're sort of in uncharted waters, aren't we? I think the thing to bear in mind is that behind the scenes, everyone is getting to grips with this. So recruitment teams and HR teams and hiring managers will be getting to grips with how they keep recruitment moving. They'll be getting to grips with demand, because obviously demand has shifted, very much. They'll be wanting to be very clear that if they're engaging with you for a job, that they're going to be able to follow through and offer, not waste anyone's time or build up hopes. So there'll be lots of things happening in the background that might be a bit unusual. So I think expect for things to slow down a little bit as companies come to grips with that. I think there's no harm in showing that you're still keen. Perhaps leave it a little longer than you would usually, and then just drop a polite note to your recruiter or whoever you've been liaising with, and just say, that you empathise that things are really, tough for them as well, and you're sitting there, you're keen, you're still interested in the role, and that shows that you're still engaged, but you're also showing that you understand that they've probably got some challenges to overcome.
Yeah, and you say that with total expertise, having worked on that side of the fence, don't you?
Absolutely. So I've been both an agency recruiter and an in-house recruiter within an HR team. So I can promise you that those teams will be working really, really hard to communicate with the people that they've got in play. And sometimes they don't have enough information. I mean, sometimes they're literally waiting for information from the rest of the business. So yeah, patience, that's the word I keep using at the moment for everything. Patience.
Yeah, frustrating, but absolutely necessary. So another question, which actually a few people have been asking us about, video interviews. They are cropping up quite a bit. So there are employers that are still recruiting out there. For those that are still recruiting and that need to process applicants even through this crisis period, many are opting for video interview in order to progress the process. So, but for many of our members, this is the first time they've encountered this sort of an experience, and there's a bit of nervousness around it. What advice would you have for our members who are doing video interviews for the first time? I mean, there's so many different applications out there. The tech can seem a bit intimidating if you haven't used it before, can't it?
Yeah. I think the really interesting thing is that I think the majority of us are probably using the technology without even realizing. We just don't necessarily think about it in an interview situation. So if you've ever done a FaceTime call with a friend, or if you've Skyped somebody from overseas, or even if you've just recorded a video on WhatsApp and sent it, you've basically done a video interview. That's really the technology. And the variety of actual platforms is fairly broad. There's some very common ones. Zoom is being used a lot at the moment. It's proving to be very stable, very flexible. It's very good at doing sort of panel interviews, so you could actually have 3 of you talking at the same time. It's good. There's Blue Jeans, there's GoToMeeting, there's WebEx. So there's a myriad. I think I heard of something called Blackboard the other day. I hadn't come across it. But I think the thing to bear in mind is effectively they all do the same thing. All they do is access the camera in your laptop or in your phone or from your tablet. They access the microphone from that same source, or from a headset if that's better for you, or headphones, and it links the 2 of you together. So I would say check with your recruiter. Once again, if they're saying they're going to go to video, just say, do you know what platform they're using? Just so you can do a little bit of having a look, a bit of research, so you're comfortable with it. Ask them to send you the link in advance. Usually you'll just get a link where the technology is embedded. So don't worry about needing to have all of these things downloaded on your system. Usually there'll be a link that invites you to open something. Like you'll get a link from Zoom saying, go to this meeting number 6042. And then just be yourself. And I know that sounds easier than than maybe done, but prepare yourself as you would for any other interview. Dress like you're going for an interview. Do your research like you would for an interview, and then show up for your interview on time and have a chat on the video. So
yeah, and I guess one reassuring point for people as well is that for many recruiters, this might also be the first time that they're using this technology. Yes. So it's not just the applicant that's maybe feeling a bit of nerves before
absolutely. And so and that's actually a lovely icebreaker in a way. Both people feeling a little bit uncomfortable, or oh, this is a bit funny, isn't it? That's actually a really lovely way to break the ice, because you're both admitting that, oh, this is a bit unusual, but we've also I believe on the website we've got a good article about sort of 12 top tips for a Skype interview. Now, we've said Skype, it applies to really any video interview. So if you've got just have a read of that. There's some really good tips there.
Great, and we can post that link as well on the chat afterwards. We've had another question come in from Mark Hughes. He's asking, do you think employers will be more hesitant in hiring over 50s, given coronavirus tends to affect people more as they get older? What's your view on that?
What's the view? Once again, I think it's probably too early to tell. I think we're right in the middle of this storm, and I think we're still finding our way. There's obviously conversations that I find it amusing when being over 50, you get lumped with basically here to the end, and unfortunately some employers can do that. I think there's some opportunity in a way. If one of the things that people say about over 50s is that we can't cope with technology. Well, the reality is we've all been forced into technology, so we're going to come out of the end of this not fearing working remotely, learning new technology, video conference. We're going to come out with some great skills. So that's all. I think it's too hard to tell. I mean, I wouldn't like to say yes, everyone's going to blanket us with being a risk. I think age and wisdom is a good thing, and we need a lot of that in this current situation. So I think there's still lots of opportunities for us, and I say us because it's me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. And we've had another question saying, I hear there's loads of temp work going around. My mum in Lancashire on the coast has heard about delivery jobs and that sort of thing in the current market. She's seen them advertised on the windows of the stores as well. There is a lot of temp work. It's been widely publicised about the supermarkets and delivery firms hiring. Is that a good option for people who might have been struggling to find a job to at least pick something up, potentially opening a door to further work down the line?
Yes, I think we'll see quite a lot of temp work at the moment. Once again, just because of that nature of uncertainty, employers are very mindful. I know we see a lot in the press about bad employers just using people. I personally don't think that most of the time is the case. I think on the whole, most employers want to do well by their people, and temporary work is a way of being honest, really, about their ability to commit at the moment with the uncertainty. So I think if absolutely, it can open doors, it can create networks, it gives you a sense of purpose. If she's feeling fit and healthy and following all the government guidelines, I would say go for it.
Yeah. Tricky though, isn't it? Because we're hearing that the supermarkets have been inundated, and I guess normal recruitment procedures are a little bit going out the window.
Yeah.
We've heard on our Facebook groups of people kind of taking their CVs straight in as opposed to going through the usual online applications. Do you have advice for people who might want to go for one of those roles, and what process should they follow?
Yeah, it's once again, I think it's a tough one because we're all making this up as we go along. I would always say, crisis or no crisis, I would say that your best chance of employment is always through your networks and being proactive. And I think approaching your local supermarkets directly kind of falls into that bracket. Depending on how large the city is in which you live, potentially you'll be a familiar face, even if they don't know you as an individual. And I think there are. It's a hard one in a way because I don't want to undermine once again what the recruitment teams will no doubt be trying to do. Behind the scenes and working very hard, but I know that the demand at the coalface is there, and there are some people who are succeeding. I would judge it in your own particular situation, and I think most of the supermarkets will have a way of dealing with it. If you turned up with your CV, they would either say, "I'm really sorry, we can't accept direct applications. Please do it through the online," or they will say, "Thank you, that's great, I'll give it to the manager." And once again, I think there's uniformity of process, and I know that's really hard because we like to work with certainty. We're just in uncertain times, and I think patience and flexibility. Maybe that's my other word. Patience and flexibility. But yes, certainly we've seen people saying that they've had some success, and similarly, I'd say using your networks and your contacts. Let them know that you're open to work, and it's amazing what will pop up.
Yeah. Thank you, Helen. That 20 minutes has completely flown by, and we don't have time for any more questions, I'm afraid, everybody. This was our first Facebook Live from Restless. We would love to do more. If you're tuning in live or if you're tuning in on catch up, please post below. Let us know what other content you'd like to hear from us, what other topics you'd like us to cover. We would love to be able to do more of these, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks very much. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you. Bye.